All right, so now we have, well, it's really 3 data sets because the first one has 1 and then question 2 has 2 of them. But they're not organized. Okay. So we have 2, and then 9. Then I see 11, 12, 15. Those are my only ones in the 10s. So 11, 12, 15. And if it's on paper, you can kind of cross them off. If it's not, it can be a little more problematic. But since I have the ability to write on the screen, I will use that. All right. So now I've got 22, 25, 27. And then 33 and 34. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10. Well, we can see at least the low value is 2. And the high value is 34. All right, our median. Let's switch colors. So since there are 10 values, there's our middle point, 15 to 22. 18 and a half. So on some data sets, 18.5 may not actually have any meaning as a number in what we're talking about, because maybe it's like how many M&Ms were in the package. You're not going to have 18 and a half M&Ms, but the value itself tells you, well, it's between 18 and 19. Like those are the 2 close values to the middle. All right, now that we've split it, the 5s are much easier to work with though. I've got 11 as the middle value there, and then 27 is the middle value on the top. All right, so those are the 5 numbers we need to plot points for, as it were. There. All right, so it's really hard to read in this. It's a lot easier on Alex. When you move around, it's either on a whole number or a 0.5 number. So, just pay attention to what number it's reading and you'll be good to go. So we would start at the 2 and then go all the way up. There's 29, 30, 31, 32, 33. This is 34. All right. So there's the edges of the whiskers. Now, let's find 18.5. So there's 18 and 19. So I'm going to draw that's a bad line. So there's our median line. Now we'll go find the lower quartile of 11. And I'm making these bigger so I can draw the box. And then the upper one at 27, which is here. And then I just draw in the whiskers. Now, if you've taken a statistics course like in high school, there's more advanced box and whiskers. We're just doing the 5-number summary like this. We're not worrying about trying to plot outliers, figure out whether or not they're, none of that. Done. 5 numbers, plot, picture. All right. So let's go ahead and take a look at set number 2. And again, I copied these from somebody else and not organized. All right, so I see 2. Let's see, I see 16, 17, and 19. And mark those off. 17, 19, 24, 25, 26, 28, 29. Ooh. I'll just double check as I go through. 24, 25, 26, 28, 29, and then the 31 and the 34. All right. There. Huzzah for copy paste. So we can figure out set 1. My lowest value is 2. My highest one is 34. Why does this sound familiar? Because we've seen those values. Different problem though. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, 11. Okay. The number 6 there is our median, 25. And then just for ease of counting, because it is an odd number, we arrive on a data value. So it splits everything to the left, we're going to find the median. Everything to the right, we're going to find the median. We're not going to include 25 in that counting. Now, when it was even before, like the middle line was between two values. Here, the middle line is on a number. So that's going to give us 17 down there and 29 up there. All right. Oh, now I have to actually write up set number 2. Let's just scoot that down. Okay. So I see 1 and 2. And then 5, 8, and 9. 11, 15, 16. 23, 33, 34. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 values again. Cool. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 11. Lowest value is 1, highest is 34. So looking at the range of these is very close, but the medians are quite different. So our lower quartile then is 5, and the upper is 23. So yeah, it looks like set 2 is a little more spacious, whereas set 1, while the spread is the same, the data itself is clustered a little closer to the median. And the two medians themselves are different. So let's go ahead and doodle on the graph so you guys can kind of see what it looks like when you have 2 to compare. Okay, and I can't move it back down. Oh, well. So let's see. We will go with pink for set 1. So our low of, so I have that line all the way across, so I'm going to work off that one. And then all the way up to 34, which happens to be the end because It was a special printing. Oh, while I'm thinking about it, the values on the left are just an artifact of getting a range of numbers with the grid. You generally have to go to a site that generates Cartesian coordinates. The numbers have absolutely no meaning here. So just ignore those. We're just using it so we have nice lines so the graph doesn't look too crazy. And having the vertical lines means our spacing is correct, because when you want to compare two graphs, you need to make sure it's all, a little space is the same on both. All right, now our median of 25. Down here is 17. Up here at 29. Now, some box plots will draw the line all the way through. Meh. So you can. It's not wrong. Now set 2. Ooh, excuse me. Starts at 1 and also ranges all the way up to 34. But our median is way down here at 11. Our lower quartile at the 5. But the upper one is way over here at 23. So essentially, we've just picked 5 numbers from the data, or an average sometimes. And we're using those to get a feel for how the numbers are spread. So you can see in set 1, they're closer together, but you can see they're bunched more to the right. So that means we would have more values on the right, which means the graph would look, it would have more values over here and then less. And I'm bringing this up because skew was something that confused me when I took statistics. It points left, so it is left skewed. I know, weird. Now the blue one, we can see our median is over on the left. We have more of a spread, but that being on the left means there's more values on the small end than there is on the large end. So this one would be right skewed. All right, not too bad. There's one other measure of variation called standard deviation on the syllabus that is set for you guys to do in 1300. And it's a bit of a calculation, so I'm going to leave it there. I may post my own video or not, but that is where we're going to stop these.